One of the most common themes in the narratives I've seen in the media and throughout social media about the Celtics' incredible postseason run has been one of surprise. People only started declaring Brad Stevens the best coach in the NBA after they beat the 76ers in the second round. Something else that has inundated the media coverage of the Celtics, whether explicitly or implied through the message that Stevens is a godlike coach, is the idea that the Celtics lack the individual player talent when compared to their opponents, especially the 76ers and more recently the Cavs. In this video, I'd like to push back against the idea that the Celtics don't have equal, if not superior talent compared to both their playoff opponents and the rest of the NBA in general. Of course, none of this is to take away from what Brad Stevens has done as a young NBA head coach, but I'll get to that later in this video. Talent is a hard thing to measure. In the NBA universe, it's more of a perception than anything else, largely informed by how the media covers individual players. Most people simply don't have the time or energy to dive into the statistics that paint a more accurate picture of how much and efficiently a player contributes to their team's success. Successful teams that get more coverage, like the Warriors, Rockets, and Cavs, are justifiably perceived as more talented, especially given the obviously outstanding production of their superstars, like Kevin Durant, James Harden, and LeBron James, and the attention that the select number of top media writers and hosts give these players. But for this video, I'd like to use another measure of talent, average draft position, to show just how talented the Celtics really are, even after losing two of their best players, Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward, to injury. I went through every NBA team's regular season minutes depth chart to figure out who the effective starting five was for each team. I mostly took into account minutes played, disregarding starts for players who started lots of games but aren't really starters, such as Zaza Pachulia, who started 57 games at center for Golden State but only averaged 14.1 minutes per game. I also took into account mid-season trades and significant injuries by dropping out or adding players accordingly. Once I had the effective starting fives for each NBA team, I went through and found the draft position for every player on that list. I then averaged the draft positions to find each team's starting five average draft position. Here's the ranking for all 30 NBA teams. Immediately, you should notice that the Celtics sit atop this list, with an incredible average draft position of 3.2 when you include Kyrie Irving in the starting five. Their team isn't just a little ahead of the rest of the league in terms of expected talent when they enter the league, they blow the whole NBA away by more than 3 spots. This cushion means that even when you switch Kyrie Irving out for Terry Rozier to reflect the Celtics' playoff starting five, they still sit number 1 in the league with an average of 6.2. Of course, average draft position isn't a perfect measure of team success in the NBA. For example, the Hornets sit number 2 in this list, but they didn't even make the playoffs this year. We all know that the draft is an inexact science, with general managers liable to swing and miss on high draft picks all the time. However, with the Celtics, we have to take into account the ability of the likely number 1 GM in the entire league, Danny Ainge, when we talk about their recent picks under his reign, 3 of which are in the effective starting five for the regular season, and 4 of which are for the postseason: Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Terry Rozier, and Jason Tatum. Taking Ainge's ability into account, we can add more weight to the average draft position of the Celtics, seeing as his scout team is clearly elite when it comes to selecting talent in the draft. This means that the Celtics' average of 3.2 or 6.2 are both more true measures of team talent than, say, the Hornets, who are a perpetually mismanaged team under the leadership of Michael Jordan, a general manager who took Michael Kidd-Gilchrist with a second overall pick back in 2012. This makes the Hornets' average less honest than that of a team like the Celtics. Furthermore, I'd like to suggest that the draft is becoming more of a science than a guessing game, particularly with the rise of youth professionalism in the game of basketball. You've all seen the controversy surrounding college basketball in recent years, and you might have read about the scandals in AAU ball too if you've been following basketball closely enough. Top draft picks like Jason Tatum have been dominating the game of basketball since they started high school. He was a top 5 nationally ranked 5-star recruit who was Duke's best player in his single year in college ball. There's a reason why these players get the level of attention and hype that they do. There's too much money in the whole process for the best players to slip through the cracks. Add on to that Tatum's size and skill set, and it shouldn't really be a surprise that he's been able to produce at the NBA level. This is just the logical progression of a player like his career. So, now that we've established that the Celtics certainly aren't slacking in terms of talent, we can properly address Brad Stevens' role in the successes of this season and the playoff run, which currently has the Celtics up 2-0 over LeBron James' ailing Cavaliers. I'd say that his most important contribution has been in installing a top 3 defensive system in the NBA. The Celtics ranked second in the NBA in adjusted defensive rating this season. Great defense is always the sign of a good coach and coaching staff, as it requires both good systematic coaching by the head coach, but also relational coaching to get the players to buy in with intelligent decision-making through trust in the system, and more importantly, pure hustle. It's no surprise that premier coaches like Greg Popovich always lead their teams to top 10 defensive performances, and Brad Stevens certainly falls into that category. On this note, I'd like to quickly point out one of the most underappreciated coaches in the whole NBA, Erik Spoelstra, who led his team to the playoffs through the 8th ranked defense in the NBA, despite their starting 5 ranking dead last in the NBA in terms of average draft position. Next, we have to appreciate Stevens' role in developing young, talented players, a group that I've already proved the Celtics to be inundated with. Perhaps it is his calm but serious demeanor that has helped the Celtics to handle the stresses of postseason play without a blip. I'd also suggest that the ultimate veteran presence of Al Horford has helped Stevens in this regard. To conclude, I'd just like to reiterate that the Celtics are an elite team in terms of talent and coaching. I don't really believe the hype that Stevens is a wizard who's likely taking a group of role players to the NBA Finals. He's taken one of the most talented and athletic teams in the whole NBA to a commanding lead in the Eastern Conference Finals. If they hadn't made it to at least the Conference Finals, I might have called it an underachievement based on the personnel that the Celtics bring to the table. Only time will tell if they can close out the series against the Cavs, but given the performances of both teams in the first 2 games of the series, it looks like they're well on their way to a finals berth. Finally, make sure you subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this, and follow my Instagram page if you need to improve your shooting ability, or if you just want to support what I do in this platform. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, thanks for watching.